And I think a lot of creators, like that's the business you're in. You have yourself as a solo person, but also your channel itself is, a business. That way I was like, okay, I'm going to try to just really invest in podcasts and interviews with like high production. So, I flew to Puerto Rico with a complete crew to do interviews with Jake and Logan Paul. Those were my first few interviews. I really believe that like you gotta sometimes invest and spend to give the audience a look into where you're heading.
Welcome to the Unique Genius Podcast, the show where we interview some of the top creators out there and we explore how they've taken their unique genius, their knowledge, their passion, their expertise, and turned it into a thriving business so that you can grow one of your own. Our guest today, Jon Youshaei, known for working at Instagram and YouTube, turning that into his own business where he's known for cracking the code on how to go viral. All right, so Jon Youshaei, host of the show Admazing.
No, that is
it like analyzes ads from adtrocious to admazing.
You did your research. Yeah.
No, but I bring it up. I mean, it's not that hard research. I look at the oldest video you produced. So 4 years though, and you've gone past 400,000 subscribers on YouTube. But the reason I bring the Admazing thing up is experimentation. Like you seem to have a real experimental mindset, trying things, figuring out what works. I know you've advised people to do it. What's your thoughts on experimenting?
Oh, to me, it's like coming up with a good piece of content is like testing the MVP, the minimal viable product of a startup. You got to package it in a way that you get enough of a response. Mm-hmm. And then, with that format, I was like, okay, is this something that people are interested in? And there was an initial interest, but nothing like what we're seeing now, which is why I ultimately decided to pivot.
Right. And so when you find things that work, do you rinse and repeat? You're looking for new all the time? Like how's the creative process on that?
I'm looking for a vessel. I'm looking for a template. Like we just launched our newsletter and I was like, there's a lot of newsletters out there, but I'm a big believer in just like something visual and illustrating and putting out like cartoons. So each newsletter that we put out has a like brand new illustration where I've hired like some of the best illustrators from the New Yorker, from the Economist, and we put it out there. I'm like, okay, that is like a container, almost like the New Yorker for creators. But as a concept, it got a good response. I'm like, okay, I'm going to continue with that. Put in new cartoons every week, grow, get a response, and then grow. Rinse and repeat for that. But again, packaging matters.
So it was an experiment.
Yeah.
Played with it, worked well. Let's run with this more. And that's mostly, I seen it on LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
So is that focused on that channel?
I like to be like multifaceted with it. So like I would put out these cartoons on LinkedIn. I had a newsletter, but I was like, oh, you know what? If I just put it out and there's enough of a following on LinkedIn that resonates, maybe I should repackage it as email. Maybe I should put it out as tweets. So now it's like on all platforms, but the actual text that goes below, like we have an entire deep dive for what the cartoon is based on, is in email.
And you're across a number of channels, YouTube being your biggest, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So how do you think about audience building? And like, there's a lot I want to ask you about how you run your business, but just given who you are and how fast you've kind of accelerated into audience building, it'd be remiss to sort of not talk a little bit about how you see audience building in general. And
there's this great quote from Jay-Z where he says like, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. I'm a business, man.
Gotcha.
Right. And I think a lot of creators, like that's the business you're in. You have yourself as a solo person, but also your channel itself is, a business. So when I left my job at Instagram to become a creator, I was like, I'm starting a business. I'm not just becoming a creator. That way I was like, okay, I'm going to try to just really invest in, podcasts and interviews with like high production. So, I flew to Puerto Rico with a complete crew to do interviews with Jake and Logan Paul. Those were my first few interviews. I really believe that like you gotta sometimes invest and spend to give the audience a look into where you're headed, right? And obviously not everyone could do that. Like I saved up a lot during my jobs because I was like, I'm going to put my chips in. I'm going to try to do this and show people like, okay, I'm only at 10,000 subscribers, but I'm willing to invest. Just wait till we hit 100. Just wait till we hit 400. And that's where we're at now.
Amazing. And I know you're upping the game and level in terms of very quickly the guests you're able to attract, people you're able to talk to. I heard, rolling with Mr. Beast.
Yeah, that was nuts. Yeah.
But I'd love to hear about that if there's anything you can share, but also just like as people are getting started or earlier in the journey, is it just that you've built the audience and now you can attract the right kind of guests?
I think it comes down to two things, timing and partnering. So with timing, people are more likely to say yes if you hit them in a promotional cycle. You know, everybody has a project, a book. They're putting out something, and that's the moment where I find they're doing their interviews and they're more likely to say yes. So one great trick I found is like I like to go set a Google alert for a dream guest that I have. And then I pay attention to the news cycles. And as soon as they have something launching, they're starting to do initial press, and I get the Google alerts about them. And then I figure out, okay, do I have an existing relationship with them from my time working at YouTube and Instagram? Or do I know their publicist, or can I find their email? And then I send a outreach and say, hey, congrats on the upcoming launch of blank. Like, here's a bit about me, who I've interviewed. I would love to interview to help amplify blank. So I show it as a give. And then obviously when you sit down to talk to them about whatever their project is, you can obviously go into a much like deeper history of like how they got there, the background, like what's interesting, not just to them, but to the audience as well.
Okay. And any that stand out for you in terms of being able to make contact with, or whether it's interview or just working on it at that point?
The Liza Koshy one was a great one because she barely gave any interviews at that point. And that kind of goes into my second part of like partnership. Like I was speaking on stage at an event for YouTube, and Liza was one of the other speakers. And I was like, you know what? Like we're there. We're both like in wardrobe, like, and you know, what I've realized also sometimes like hair and makeup, like for a lot of these guests matters. They want to be ready to go. So if I make this ask and I booked a studio like 5 minutes away from the YouTube event, could I get to a yes, you know? And we also like, just got to know each other, and she and her team were just so awesome. So I basically like, you know, asked her. And then also the other part of the partnerships is like I'm able to like write for Forbes, and I've been able to write for publications like that for many years now. And so I try to package it as part of like a, hey, we're already here. I'm going to book a studio. I'm going to make it easy. I've had these other guests, but also I'm going to write an entire deep dive, a written piece about it. So it's like an entire like give of like, you get video, you get social assets, you get a traditional media piece, like all these. I'm trying to, you know, just really serve up a home run for them.
Make it really easy for them. And so what order do you do that in? You get to book the place 5 minutes away. You're making the ask in person, sort of in the green room.
No. I definitely
that ahead of time, saying, I know we're going to be there.
Yeah, I know we're going to be there. Yeah, I know we're going to be there. And I hop on a call with like her team, or like usually like if there's like a big guest, like I'll try to do a pre-call with them, or at least get on them on the phone and be like, hey, what would make this interview a win? Like, what are the things that you're trying to cover? Another question I ask them is, how do you feel like you're most misunderstood?
Interesting.
I'm not trying to be like I don't know, gotcha. Like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to be like, okay, no, let's talk about the truth. And if
you're not interviewing Nixon about Watergate or something like that.
Yeah. But we will dive into like with Liza, that example. Like I looked at a lot of her comments. I'm like, a lot of people are wondering why she stopped uploading on YouTube. First question.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But that was also something she probably wanted to put out there.
Yeah, but in the framing of like, you know, thinking about, okay, there's so many other things. She's trying to move towards traditional media. And she had this great part at the end where she was talking about wanting to be on Saturday Night Lives. You know, she has a lot of aspirations, and I feel like wants to be understood as like this voice actor who's in the Transformers franchise, this actress who's now, you know, directed, scripted, and done a lot of her own work. So I feel like there's a lot of interesting questions and ways we could navigate this conversation. What's the thing that's going to be most interesting and relevant for them, as well as the audience, to make for a great episode?
Right. So on that note, I'm kind of curious why you do what you do.
Oh, yeah. Why I do what I do on YouTube?
What's the mission? What's the vision? What drew younger Jon Youshaei to this path, right? Like, what led you here?
I think a lot of reasons, the biggest of which, you know, my parents immigrated from Iran, like left during the revolution of 79, shortly thereafterwards. And like many immigrant kids, you see those like set paths of like doctor, lawyer, real estate agent, you know?
Yeah. Get a degree.
Get a degree. Yeah. On your way. My parents were very supportive. But at the same time, I didn't see a path for like, oh wait, how do I get a degree in this like level of new media and digital media, which was just starting out when I was just graduating college. And I'll never forget, I ran for class president, and I saw all these other candidates like making these like serious, I don't know, like pamphlets and like giving these speeches. And I'm like, I'm going to make a video on this site called YouTube. And I put out this rap video to run for class president. Again, I've never done it before. I'm like a cross country kid coming from public school in the suburbs of Chicago. So I put out this rap video, ended up getting elected, reelected, did that for 4 years. And I was like, wow. And used YouTube and videos.
Understood people in marketing from a pretty early age.
Yeah, I think there's an intuitive sense of that, and just like why are people doing this? I feel like this is a more fun way to do it, and just being able to communicate with the class, put on events, like bring that community together of like 2,500 students in my class. was one of the best educations, and that was outside of the classroom. So I was like, why isn't there an education inside the classroom for people who want to use video? And then I ended up getting a job at YouTube, and I was like, oh my God, like people aren't realizing all this stuff that's happening before there was even any sense of the phrase creator economy going on. I was seeing it on the ground level. So that kind of built the seed of like, I want to do this as a job, and I want to try to educate other people who are trying to do it too, because it's not there.
Interesting. Yeah. So you took advantage of it, or it helped you. Then you got involved in it professionally. And now you're thinking, how do I help others get into this and educate them?
Yeah. Well, and at that time, it wasn't as clear as it is now. Like, okay, do it through content, do it through like products, courses, all of those things. It was more like, how can I do it by building products at YouTube? Or I haven't seen too many people who have worked at one of the platforms and then worked on another platform and then gone on to, be a creator to try to inform other folks. There's a lot of folks who have either worked at one or, there's a lot of folks who are creator educators, but I was like, there's an opportunity for somebody who's been on the inside to go to the outside and share what he's learned while sharing trial and error.
Well, thank you for doing it. We love it. We're
At least
learning
I could
from
do
it.
it.
Yeah.
No.
Anything specific takeaways from there that you're like, watch for these things, or here's a few things you've noticed from I know you've shared lots in your channel, so people can check you out there. But
I think the biggest thing is I like to say there's two types of creators. There's Stephen Colbert style creators and James Corden style creators.
Yeah. Folks
who have seen my channel or seen my talks at different events have probably seen this, but I think Stephen Colbert is all about monologue, desk bit, very set, very little experimentation. He definitely does, but not as much as James Corden, who, if you look at his channel, so many formats. And like we may know Carpool Karaoke or Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts, which is like his Truth or Dare, but there's many that bombed.
Right.
So I think if you like look at how many formats he had, and then you look at how many followers and subscribers he had relative to his peers, like we're not comparing like a late night talk show in a studio to like, single solo YouTubers, but
still
it's
formats, experimentation.
Big time.
So I am curious how you think about business models. Obviously, being a successful creator or just a creator generally, there's so many business models, whether it's AdSense or courses, or you've talked partnerships. How do you look at business models? How do you decide which ones to pursue? Is it the same experimental approach you take for formats, or?
I think about it in three ways. One, it's like services and consulting. Then it's like sponsorships and advertising. And then it's your own products and courses. The first bucket, Greg, I feel like a lot of new creators don't really think about, which is like services. And like for me, I was like, okay, I'm leaving a corporate setting. I'm going to figure out how I could bootstrap a channel that requires like production and investment. And the way I know how to do that is by offering marketing help. Right. So a lot of our money in the first days of us building a creator company was consulting and marketing services to other companies and brands. Then as we started getting views, is sponsorships and brand deals. And now as we have an audience, I'm like, okay, I've offered a lot of value for free. How can I take it up a notch for a best-in-class course for creators? And that to me feels like the most natural extension, because it's me working directly with the people who are consuming my content, which is education-based.
Right. It's an interesting way to look at the sort of three categories. I haven't seen it laid out quite that way. It makes a lot of sense, right? You got the services. It's easier to start right there.
Yeah.
You can offer it on day one with like even one person who knows
right.
about you
as
a client, instantly have revenue from it. Then you've got ads, which is sort of a natural add-on possibility, or sponsorships. And then on the course, or having your own product, I mean, the nice thing there is you have different metrics, measures in terms of margins you can make, right? Because it's yours. Yeah. So often you can generate more revenue from that. How do you, like, on a measures of success when you're evaluating your business, what do you look at?
Actually, those different buckets have like different ways to measure success. Consulting, we tie to whatever the KPIs of the company is. So like, what are their metrics and what do they define success as?
So they could come in and say, help me sell this product, and you just, how many did we sell for them, or how much of an audience did we build for them, or
it's like a campaign. It's like, okay, are we trying to drive awareness to this campaign, or is it an internal metric? Hey, we're trying to figure out how to reposition like this part of the company, this product. Like, how can we like do that? Companies have brought us in to help give feedback on their product roadmap. Yeah. So how can we give more clarity to the engineers about what to build and what's actually useful for creators? So that one is always tied to the companies. Sponsorships, like that one is like links or clicks on the CTA links, views and awareness. So like really the funnel. And then courses, to me, it's like, I want to think about like how many people who enter the course leave with a business, or at least have the tools to do what I did. You know, because I really think like the person I'm trying to target for this course is somebody who maybe working a job and trying to navigate that exit and that transition, or somebody who's starting out but it's not quite working, or somebody who is it is working. And I'm like, okay, here's how you take it to the next level.
That's great. I love that you're looking at the success of how have you helped someone achieve their outcome, because obviously you focus on that and they get their outcomes and everything else will happen for you, right? Like they'll refer people, they'll repurchase, they'll come back, they'll be happy with the whole thing. So
you said it. Yeah.
It's a great way to focus on the customer.
Yeah. I got to. I know no other way.
Yeah. And on that front, I mean, why do you think you kind of mentioned earlier around higher education or conventional education? Like, why do you have to step in and do this?
Well, I find that like, I don't know, it's so crazy, but I'm continually surprised that universities and colleges, like in higher education, do not offer curriculum to help educate people on how to make a living using digital media. In the past 3 years alone, YouTube has given $50 billion to creators, on their platform. And then you think about how much more money has been made on TikTok, Instagram, and all these other platforms. Like who am I to like pick a bone with Harvard of all places? But like I do, because I look at their curriculum. I'm like, okay, they offer classes in folklore and mythology.
Folklore
and mythology, and
which is cool.
I mean, I'm not hating on that, but I'm like, if you're offering curriculum for that, and you see how much of a demand there is, like the number one most requested, most desired job right now for young professionals in Gen Z is becoming a YouTuber. Right? Wow. Everyone has talked about that study, like ahead of astronauts, doctors. So why wouldn't you have curriculum?
It's a big enough industry.
Yes. Big time. And I'm like, it's not even the person on camera. It's the person around the camera,
If they call her, you open to being a professor.
Yeah. As long as I continue making videos.
Yeah, that'd be great. Jon teaching at Harvard.
That's right. Yeah. But so they're kind of like I say this tongue in cheek, but like I see Harvard has about 2.3 million subscribers. I have 400,000. My goal is to try to get more subscribers in Harvard. And hopefully like once that happens, like maybe they'll offer curriculum, or maybe there's something that, again, it's crazy. Who am I to talk to them? But I feel like it sends a message that like they should offer curriculum. And I really believe that.
Well, you're building at a slightly faster rate given how long you've been around versus them.
Trying.
So
yeah.
You have a chance of crossing that line.
Yeah. The resources I have putting together and working with you guys and doing it on your platform is just something I'm super excited about, because then folks can like take it on their own pace, but still have me involved and just make it a really just modern learning experience.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And as you're going and achieving these levels of success, have you started building a team? Have you added anyone else?
Of course.
Others involved in you?
Oh yeah. We have a 10-person team.
Yep.
So my thought was, okay, again, if I'm going into this, I am going to try to build a team around the process. And I'd say one of the biggest, like just wins was having my wife join our team as my business partner, my manager, almost my Kris Jenner, if you will.
Yeah.
And she just like, manages all of our sponsorships, contracts, like logistics. She's taking a look at, okay, we spent this much on a video, and then what was the return in terms of follower growth as well as AdSense and sponsorships, right? Yeah, my wife, like Amanda, has been just a huge part of the team and what we're doing.
And 10 total on the team so far.
Yep.
How do you think about, when's it time to add the first team member? Were you at a certain revenue level where you're like, or is it just, I need this task done and I'm not good at it, or is I'm doing way too much of this? How do you think about adding team members as you go?
I think about bringing in team members on a trial basis to start off. The ways of hiring differ based on operational roles versus creative roles. So creative roles like an editor, or like now we brought in illustrators to help with the cartoons for the newsletters. I want to know that they could bring something 80% of the way of like what I'm envisioning, because nobody will perfectly give you what you want or what's in your head, right? Or if you made a video yourself, like I'm a big believer in like try to do it before you delegate it. And they could get it 80% of the way there.
Yep.
And they have a good attitude, and they're coachable, then I think you could get them at least to 95. I don't know if 100 is possible, but you can't grow if you try to do everything yourself. So with like editors, like one thing I like to do is like when I put up a job listing, Greg, I always write the description. Then I literally put in a line that says, my favorite food is avocados. Anyways, this role will require you to take footage and Premiere Pro and Final Cut. Like you have to have proficiency in Premiere Pro and Final Cut. And then like in the questionnaire, I'm like, take a guess at what my favorite food is.
Yeah. It's a quiz.
It's a quiz.
Did you read it?
Yeah. Did you read it? And most people are like, I don't know, potatoes. And I'm like, okay, throw that out. Because I'm like, they don't have good attention to detail.
Interesting.
And business comes down to the details, and especially creative.
There's a clear requirement there you're looking before you bring these people on, that they've
100%.
got attention to detail, and that's across all roles.
All roles, yeah. And also, like, I really believe, like, can you communicate clearly over email and Discord or Slack, whatever the communication channel is? So if you're trying to make a point, can you break it down into clear sentences? Because to be a clear writer is to be a clear thinker.
Can you simplify it? Huh.
100%. So one thing I do, and if folks are listening to this, they're trying to hire somebody for an editor or a creative position, put in a question that, like, you know, you have to read it to answer. And that could be like related. It doesn't have to be avocado. Sometimes I ask, and my favorite YouTuber is Mark Rober and whatever. Right. And then I'll be like, guess my favorite YouTuber. And if they're like, you know, they say something else, I'm like, okay, no attention to detail there.
Gotcha.
The other thing is I try to just give footage, like raw footage, and be like, here's a video we've done before. Here's kind of like the way I want this video to look, and don't give too much direction.
Right.
Because I'm trying to see, can they take it like as far as possible by themselves?
Yeah.
And then when that first draft comes in, I'm like, okay, can they take revisions well? Right. So that's kind of like a step-by-step process of like how we hire on the creative side, and the operation side is just similar, but it's like more critical thinking. Do they understand the industry? Are they quick to learn? All those things. And
in building that team, it sounds like you have some ideas around who's a fit and who's not. Do you have core values within the concept, or like are really important to you in building this?
Yeah, I think one of our biggest core values is that like success compounds, you know? So there's a lot of times where I will obsess over a few frames of a video. The way this graphic shows up is like just not the right transition when the person is talking. So one of our big principles and values is like how we do something is like how we do everything. But also I fundamentally believe, and this is another one of our big values, that education can be entertainment. There are fun ways to talk about things, like, and that example of like Colbert versus Corden, like I could have said that in so many other ways. I could have just been like, have multiple formats. Okay, have fun.
I feel like that's what I would have done. I would have been like, let me get in front of a whiteboard and just teach you like lots of formats. This is, you know, whereas you get the real example. So people instantly can identify with it, recall it, which is also storytelling, which is another great way to hook them in.
Exactly. Yeah. It gets people, like I build the story and then I keep referring back to it in the 7 tips. You get the entertainment, you get the education. That education continually draws from the story from the beginning.
Great. So as you're building this team, you've got people working on everything from editing to you've actually got illustrators on the newsletter. Yeah. How are you thinking about AI?
Yeah, and I also want to say, like, I'm still super involved in all this. I really believe like hiring a team is a way to scale, like just how you have ideas and the qualities of those ideas. When it comes to AI, I take a similar approach. One of the biggest tools that we're using right now is Opus Clip, and what they do that's so awesome is you could take your YouTube video, put in a link in, and it'll generate a bunch of shorts from that YouTube video with a title, description, and a virality score.
It's telling you how viral we think this will be.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like it's just one of the most practical tools, because I'm like, it takes something that creators should be doing, but it's so time consuming that not enough creators do it, and making it easy as putting in a link and getting an output. And even like it like takes parts of the video. It's like, okay, this is the most interesting hook based on the words that they're saying, and puts it in front of the video, and then puts the rest of it behind it. And then you could also like make fine-tune editing, so you could change the subtitles to be in your branding and all that. So we use those for our shorts and to identify shorts. And then it also helps because some of the shorts that do really well, we use if we put it out before the interview for the intro. So
that makes sense, right? You test the shorts and you're like, this is what people are interested. So that's your hook at the start.
Yeah. We try to build that into like just a really compact like teaser to what you're going to get into the interview or what question we're going to answer.
Gotcha. You mentioned something earlier about your role in product marketing. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, product marketing is a little bit nebulous. I know even for me, working with lots of product marketers, it's like, what exactly is that discipline?
Yeah,
but the way you described it sounded a little bit more like research. Like you're almost starting from the market by talking to YouTubers, to understanding what the needs and opportunities are, feeding that back into building a product. And then that creates the opportunity to market, as opposed to just engineering team handing you something they've built and you marketing it. Which I think is maybe a misconception sometimes around product marketing. So is that right? And then, how do you apply that in what you're doing today? Because it actually sounds similar to what you're doing in terms of learning what people content want, producing it, and that creates a market for you.
Yeah, it's both ends of the spectrum. And I think a lot of like product marketing depends on the relationship of the product marketer with the product manager, and I always try to have really close relationships with them, with the engineers, with the designers. Like I remember when I was at YouTube, I'd fly to Zurich where we would have like the team who builds YouTube Studio, builds the creator tools. Like at that time, they were all based out there. And just having good relationships with them. So I could be like, hey, this is what I'm hearing on the ground. Or more importantly, here's like user studies we've done that say, hey, this anecdote is actually not just one-off. It's an entire trend that we're seeing from creators, or this is a big opportunity of alternative monetization happening off platform that we should bring on platform, because AdSense shouldn't be the be all end all. So diversifying that was a big, but no, there's definitely times where like this product's launching. It's a mandate from the executives, from the C-suite saying, this is what we want to rally YouTube around or Instagram around. How do you position it? How do you market it? Who are the hero cases? Who are in those initial videos? What does that campaign look like? So it's definitely both sides of it.
Cool. And interested in building your own products.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know how much we could talk about here, but I'm also excited for, I know part of our partnership is not just building a course together, but building a product that could help people put a lot of that education into use.
Yeah.
And I just have so many ideas for products. I'm like, why doesn't that exist?
Yeah.
Or that exists, but it's such a crap use case that I feel like we can make it way better.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to work on that as well. And just, because I know a lot of people not only have courses on Thinkific, they also build products with you guys, and the opportunity to work with you guys and have that resourcing to build products for creators. Like I'm stoked about, because I think that's another just way I think we could flex our muscles.
Is there a big problem you're looking to solve there? Or
thumbnails, thumbnails, titles, ideation. Like I feel like a lot of times like people, they get so down the funnel when most creators still face the problem of what video should I make and how should I package it? If you solve those problems and you make that more efficient, just about everything else will start to fall into place. Of course, there's a lot of nuance with like, how do you get those brand deals? How do you get bigger brand deals, et cetera? But
as a starting point, it's the ideation and the packaging, meaning in part the thumbnail, or in a big way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big time.
And we know that's critical for YouTube.
Oh yeah, it's almost like if you're making a movie, you have to design the poster before.
Yeah. I've talked to some YouTubers who spend more time on the thumbnail, I think, than they do on the video. Like they produce that first and then they go shoot.
Oh yeah, and even I have like this thing I like to call my thumbnail Hall of Fame, where I just have some of the best thumbnails I've seen from my time at YouTube and from now being a YouTuber, and I just keep that as a reference point. And actually, my talk at Vid Summit, my presentation went into like, what are the categories of great thumbnails? What boxes do they check? So yeah, I try to look into that before we, have a video go out.
Amazing. Yeah. So from full-time career in, quite successful in big tech companies, are you glad you took the leap?
It was definitely hard. Like it was the hardest decision I ever made to leave a job I loved that paid well, that I really enjoyed being around the colleagues, and I loved being around the people I served. Like, I mean, I went into my roles at YouTube and Instagram for the same reason I left them, because I love like working with creators and being around that space. But at some point, like I bet a ton of people who could work in the NBA front office, they want to go on the court too and see if they could ball.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
They want to see if they, they're either going to like.
Oh, so you were looking over the fence with a little envy.
No, I wouldn't say it was envy, but I was like, I want to just try to pick up the ball and maybe I'll get dunked on.
Yeah.
But
you want to be on the court, in the game.
I want to be on the court. I want to be in the game. And I think about like, again, like Amanda and I getting married and having a kid. I just wanted to look at our daughter and not be a coulda, woulda, shoulda father.
That's amazing. I love that. I'm almost a little reluctant to ask this, especially given how sort of mission driven these things are, but you lived in tech where things like investment, VCs, exits, and, when we were at, I think VidCon, there were people talking about creators who've actually sold their business or taken on investment or done secondary where they're still a co-owner, but now someone's put a bunch of money in. They've had basically a liquidity event where they've taken money off the table.
Yeah.
Is that something you think about at all in the future? I know that's probably, you're still in like build, grow mode, but how do you think about that? Or is it, now I got a mission, who cares about that stuff?
I don't know. I'll never say never. I just feel like my boss is my audience right now, and like, I want to be able to do whatever I can for them without like making it complex with like other stakeholders, like, needing to like answer to other people. And if I'm just thinking about the audience, and I'm thinking about our team and I'm thinking about the content, like that just simplifies the process. So I don't know, a lot of these folks who like take on other investments and all that, I'm like, did they need it? And if they did, what's really been the return of like that? Like, I don't know if we fast forward 5-10 years down the road, and maybe they're scaling even faster. I don't know, but I'm too early in the process to answer that.
I think there's nothing wrong with taking that approach. And I love how audience focused you are and in like service and helping them get into really what you're doing and learn from what you've been doing.
Yeah, trying. Yeah.
So with your experience, I mean, you've got this amazing experience of Instagram, being at YouTube, seeing what's working, having your Hall of Fame of thumbnails, right? But seeing also what's working for you, and now building a product around this. What can you share with us about thumbnails and how to think about that?
Like, I feel like a lot of people like don't think about how to come up with ideas that have a visual component. So one thing that I'd say very tactically people can do if they're trying to figure out what's the next idea I make for my video or for like a TikTok or Instagram reel, I like to use Quora and Reddit for that.
Quora and Reddit.
Yeah, which I know a lot of people don't put in the same conversation as like making a YouTube video, but here's why I do. I think great content solves popular problems, you know? And if you're trying to figure out like what to make content about, go look at where people are asking questions. So if you look up subreddits for your niche, or you look up, just type in your niche in Quora and then filter by questions and then filter by all time, you can see the most popular questions people are asking relate to your niche.
I'm going to use this. This is great.
You know? And then
I used to be big on Quora, but it's been a long time.
I know, it's been a minute. Yeah. So people
this is great.
So then I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So I put in creator economy. I put in YouTube and, you know, and it really puts in perspective. I'm like, people are still curious about how to grow, how to have better ideas. So like, that's where I'm like, okay, I could focus a lot of my course or my education around that. A few questions about brand deals, monetization, that's still important. But by and large, if you look at where people are asking questions and you create great content to answer those questions, and then you could also use Google Trends and other search results, you'll start just the precursor to having a great thumbnail and great video, which is having a great idea. The next part is, okay, thumbnail. What's the visual? How do you go through that? One, just always have a catalog of references, right? If you look at like the Mad Men era of like advertisers, like kind of like Don Draper's of like, Madison Avenue back in the day, they always had this thing called a swipe file. Have you ever heard this term?
No.
A swipe file is basically like back in the day, like a lot of top ad execs would go through magazines, and if they ever liked something that, you know, they wanted to basically adapt later on, they would rip it out and put it in like an old cabinet called a swipe file.
Okay.
Right.
And then you look through it for inspiration.
Exactly. And then the next time a client comes to them, we're looking for a campaign that looks like that. First thing they do, they open up their drawer, they open up a swipe file, and they're going through all the stuff to swipe, you know? And
like steal.
Yeah,
Swipe,
but
steal.
you know,
Gotcha.
it's in the way that you would steal like an artist
Not
or
swipe
adapt.
left
Yeah.
or right.
No. Yes, good distinction. Yeah, that's a great clarification, because it's swipe means something different today, but for them it's like swipe, like stealing like an artist. So they would have all these magazines things that are torn out. The modern version of that is, if you're trying to be a YouTuber and you don't have a swipe file of great thumbnails, then you're starting from scratch every time. And the way to build that and the way to rip out pages of a magazine today is, next time you're on YouTube and you click on a video from a creator you do not know, take a screenshot of the thumbnail before you watch the video.
Because they hooked you.
Yes.
Right.
There's something there, because over time, you may click on a Mr. Beast video, a Ryan Trahan video because of brand affinity. I like their past videos. I'm going to click on this video. Right.
Which doesn't tell you their thumbnail is working.
Yeah. Though they have great thumbnails. The real art, I think, is finding thumbnails that you clicked on when you have no understanding of who the creator was.
Because I was going to say, just look for heavily watched videos. That would imply it. But if Mr. Beast got a heavily watched video, does it mean that he could put out a black like just an all black screen and people would probably, actually that might be a good thumbnail.
Or like he could put up like a photo. I know his videos like hi me in 5 years, hi me in 10 years. It's just like a photo of like, it's like a still image, you know? But yeah, they could break the rules more easily.
Yeah.
So I like to apply.
But the one that hooks you that you've never watched.
Yeah. Big time. Okay, so then I've been doing this for a long time. So I have this Hall of Fame of like, I call it a Hall of Fame. It's like my Hall of Fame of like all these.
It's
like
your swipe
thumbnails.
file?
Yeah, it's my swipe file. And if anybody wants that, you could just DM me, or like I have it like in my Discord. I'm happy to share with anybody who reaches out. But in that swipe file, I found there's like a bunch of different themes of thumbnails that you see. One is like transformation. One is wealth. One is comparison. And then I also study movie posters, because you think about the way those are set up.
Yeah.
Entire art departments of studios have gone into trying to figure out what a good poster will look like for a movie. you
Right.
know? And you could think about the composition of like a John Wick movie poster, or even like Star Wars, how they do it. There's lessons you could apply there to your own thumbnails. And then the other thing, which I got from actually interviewing people who worked on Mr. Beast's thumbnails and worked with a lot of these top folks, is it clear? Is it concise? And does it have 3 or fewer elements to it?
3 or fewer elements, clear and concise.
Yes, yeah. So I find that like if you have like a face, you have maybe they're holding up something, and maybe you have text, that's enough. As soon as you start having more elements or more faces, or like it just overpowers people who are scrolling and have that.
And they're looking at something this big anyway. So
yeah. And then the last part of that, I like to call the 50% rule, which is when you're putting a thumbnail up. You know that when you go on Chrome and you see that like the magnifying glass and the 3 dots icon in the drop down.
Yeah.
Anyway, you could minimize your entire screen to be 50% as big as it is normally.
Right. Yeah.
And you should take a look at how your thumbnail looks there. Or you should take your Photoshop like canvas, shrink it down to 50%. Why? Because that's the way the majority of people will see it on mobile, and there'll be a lot more clutter. A lot of people, like I see, they're like editing their thumbnails on their like giant, like, you know.
But no one's seeing that. They're getting it at 50% mobile size.
Yeah.
And how much do you experiment much with thumbnails?
Oh my God. Yeah. If people follow me on my social media, I will put out A/B test of like questions of like, do you like this?
Before you post the video, which one makes you click?
Yeah. And which titles. And then in my Discord, we also have an entire part where it's like, hey, roast my thumbnail. And other people like can put it in there. So I'll be like, do you like this thumbnail image or this thumbnail image? And which of these 4 headlines do you like?
Amazing.
And I find that's good marketing too, because if people are invested in the journey of the content creation, I feel like they're more invested in the output of it too.
So if we think back earlier in your journey, what did you struggle with the most? Or what's been through this journey? What's been the biggest struggle for you? Because a lot of it sounds like it's come easily for you. And it's easy to look at your success now and say, oh, easy for him. He came from YouTube instantly. He's gotten here, but it's been a journey. What have you struggled, or what's been the most challenging or difficult for you?
The biggest struggles have come, and Amanda, like my wife, is like pointing these out, and that's why she's such a good balance as we've built this team. I sometimes spend way too much on a video. You know, like I will do so many revisions. I'm not even kidding, Greg. There's been videos we've had 28 revisions of.
Wow.
You know, and I'm
like 28 full versions.
Full versions.
Like, try again.
Yeah. I'm so obsessed with like just let's make the video perfect, you know?
Yeah.
If I'm going to interview somebing, I want to make this the best interview they've done. You know, show a different side to them. If they mention something, there's an infographic or and then Amanda will look at the cost like, do you know how much you spent on that last video? If we tally up the amount of money you spent on the videographer, the amount of money you spent on that set because you wanted it to look extra, like
the graphics, the animation,
the graphics, the animations. And I'm like, oh my God. So I definitely struggle with like do you cap it? Is there a budget, or how do you? I don't know that we're ready to have a budget, because I'm like, I'm not going to put out something that isn't as amazing as I think it could be, just because like we ran over budget. But the system we put in place now is that we have a number of hours for each video. Right. And my editors have to let me know when we're at the halfway mark and when we're nearing 10 hours before the final mark.
Gotcha.
Because then I find like if I know where we're heading.
You'll dial in your complaints or your tweaks.
My edits. Or I could be like, you know what? I really wanted to do that, but I think I'm going to do this, get in the final hours. And I think that's still going to be great. And really, I have to ask myself, what edits am I making for myself versus the audience? What form of perfectionism is just procrastination? Right. You know? Yeah. So thinking about that is like definitely a like continual struggle that I think about.
Yeah. And I think for others listening, like keeping in mind, you've got 186 videos now on YouTube. So clearly you are not letting your perfectionism get in the way of delivering something, right? Like you will ship it
in time. Yes.
It might feel like it to you, but the point, like I do think a lot of us creators suffer with perfectionism, especially producing something like a course, where unfortunately I've seen people spend a year and nothing delivered to customers, nothing on YouTube, nothing going out. Whereas like you've put out 186 videos. So you might wish you were moving even faster, but you're not really letting it slow you down to the point of stalling out, or not delivering, or not publishing.
100%. That is like our biggest thing, is like, are we uploading consistently and being mindful of costs?
Yeah. Well, Jon, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Super excited to see what you do next.
Likewise.
And I know you're totally just getting started. So.
Hey, well, I'm so glad to just be working with you guys and just to be on your show. And I can't wait to see where our future conversations take us as well.
Thanks so much.
Of course, man.
That was an amazing conversation with Jon Youshaei. I know I learned a ton. I hope you did as well. Our next episode's got some amazing insights. Check it out.